we still have a couple of people who are stepping in, so we'll just let them in as they come in. But on behalf of the French American Chamber of Commerce, welcome. Thank you very much for being here. I'm Andrea Jett, the Executive Director of the FACC of Chicago. We're happy to have you here for the second to last virtual event of the summer, in the hopes that by fall we can start actually seeing each other again a little bit more regularly. Just wanted to thank Christina Hager for being here with us today. Christina is a social media strategist and the president at Ovations Digital, expert in social media strategies for business. And she's going to try to address, I know we have a pretty diverse audience, but she's going to try to just address the strategies for social media for business generally, and then we will make sure that we leave time for about 15 minutes at the end for questions that are specific to your industry or your role. Thank you again, Christina. I'm going to turn it over to you now. Just so you know, presentation will be about 45 minutes, and then we will we'll open it up for Q&A and discussion after that. Thanks a lot, and you share your screen.
Hi, good morning. So I'm going to share my screen, make sure you can see everything, and then you can let me know and we'll get started. All right, can everyone see? All right, excellent. Yes. So thank you so much for the introduction. I am Christina Hager, and I'm the president and founder of Ovations Digital. I'm actually in Kansas City. Bonjour to my French friends. That's the end of my French, sadly. And I am a social media strategist. And so what that means is I help individuals, brands, and organizations use social media strategically to reach your business goals. Right now, the majority of our clients are on the B2B side, services, consulting services, products, SaaS, tech, construction, change management. And then we have quite a few on the B2C side as well: retail, e-commerce, brick and mortar stores, restaurants, fashion, fitness, health and wellness, CBD, and cannabis products. And then I also work with a lot of individual thought leaders, C-suite, board members, business executives, as well as speakers, authors, physicians, attorneys, and then some nonprofit clients, boards, as well as community organizations and the fine arts. So we really span a large reach with our service offerings. And I am a member of the Forbes Communication Council. I write a column for Forbes about social media and digital strategy. And I love speaking to entrepreneurs, business owners, and business leaders. I am a business owner myself. And so for my business owners or entrepreneurs on the call, I understand what it is to wear many hats and to understand that social media and marketing in general, they have to be one piece to a multi-prong approach that makes sense and really aligns with your business goals. I know you also often don't have time for a lot of these efforts. And so I want to present efforts that really give you the best ROI for your time and dollars. Lastly, I think it's really important that we understand what social media is all about. There's a lot of misconceptions. Social media is in the news a lot. There are a lot of trends. And not every trend is great for every business. And so no matter where you are or what position, I'll try to speak to you today, and we'll save some time for questions. So I am a fast talker. I spent 10 years in New York City, so I will zip on through these slides. If you have questions, we'll take about 15 minutes at the end and we'll get started. And today we'll talk about the business case for social media. Social media is fun. Don't get me wrong. But I view it as a business objective, just like anything else for your organization. We'll talk about the big four and about social media savvy business leaders, because that is a trend that is not going anywhere. And then we'll have time for that Q&A. So when we think about social media, a lot of us have first impressions that are often negative or silly. We think of it as something that we waste time, or we argue about politics, or there's a lot of chatter back and forth. So maybe that's how you've seen social media being used, or maybe that's actually how you've used social media. It's not been very strategic, or you've just used it for your own personal use. When in actuality, social media is built for connection, for networking, and for a way and a very important touch point that in 2021, you can influence and speak to your target demographic. And really, it's essential to have a social media and digital presence in 2021. No matter who your target demographic is, it is essential that you build a presence. Social media is what I call the new news aggregator. 62% of US adults use social media as their primary news source. Half of Americans get their news from Facebook, and 75% of Twitter users, they get their news from Twitter. So people are going onto social media with a hunger and an interest to learn about what's going on in their world. And social media presents a very rapid fire way to give that to them. Why does your business need social media, right? 63% of consumers who search online for businesses, they want to find one with informative social media. 90% of B2B businesses, they see more exposure by having a robust social media presence. So it's not just for those B2C businesses that I mentioned before. Marketers across the board are telling us, and the data is telling us, social media is a driver of business. 78% of consumers are relying on a company's social media posts to make their buying decisions. Consumers that are influenced by social media, they're 4 times likelier to spend more money on their purchases. So we have a lot of different business goals that we're addressing. Brand awareness, making people just aware that you exist. Brand identity, letting people know your mission, vision, values, or what your product or service actually is, as well as thought leadership, letting people know that you are the voice of authority in your field. We also see that a lot of customers are now expecting organizations to use social media for extended customer care. And when you have excellent social media customer care, you're getting a 92% customer retention rate over a company that doesn't have it. That is essential because we all know keeping our customers is important to us, and it's much cheaper than going out and finding new clients. Now, whenever I talk about social media, especially to C-suite or to a more sophisticated demographic, a lot of times we sort of roll our eyes and say, oh, social media is for the kids. TikTok is for the teenagers. Instagram is for the millennials. You're not wrong in some of those thoughts, but let me tell you about the demographic that you're serving. For the first time in the workforce, the millennials have overtaken Generation X as the most populous generation in the workforce. They now outnumber Gen X, and they make up, millennials make up over 50% of the workforce. So even if you are a B2B, a service, or really aligned with a business product, the chances are the person who may make those decisions or do the research for the decision maker is a millennial. And millennials use social media in a different way. They're using it to research products and people, to vet experiences. Gone are the days of catalogs. You have a whole generation of people that doesn't know catalogs, that are expecting you to find them instead of the opposite way, and that care just as much about how a product or service or organization makes them feel as what that actual product or service is. Additionally, millennials have over $2 billion of spending power today, and in their lifetime, they're going to have over $10 trillion. So to ignore them and their shopping and research and behaviors is a big mistake. So we have to be forward thinking. We want our first mover advantage. As we talk about social media, the first channel I want to talk about is Facebook. Facebook has 2.6 billion active users. Ladies and gentlemen, there are not even 8 billion people on the planet today. 2.6 billion people are actively using Facebook. That blows my mind. 74% of high income earners are Facebook users. And people are going on Facebook a lot. They're checking in 8 times a day. They're spending 58 minutes on the site. They're on there a lot. And who's on there? If you are going to be on one social media channel to try to get sort of the biggest, broadest demographic, it's on Facebook. It's used, it's the most used social media channel for people 55 and over. And you can see it's used by a lot of different demographics and generations. There has been a thought, and if you have younger people in your life that say, oh, young people aren't on Facebook, they're on Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok. Yes, they are joining those and more prolifically on those channels, but yet Facebook is still used by 79% of 18 to 29-year-olds. We're also seeing sort of a resurgence of a generation who never was on Facebook or maybe was and left come back. My theory is because they are having children, or they're needing to be involved in different things in Facebook groups, and things that they can register for events through Facebook. So we're seeing them kind of come back. Facebook, I call the Mean Girls platform. Mean Girls was a movie from a long ago with Lindsay Lohan, now turned into a musical, now being made into a movie musical. And it's all about popularity. And why I mention this is Facebook, the Facebook feed, when you open up Facebook on your phone or when you open it up on your computer, that scrolling list of content, that's called your feed on any social media channel. And Facebook has really led the way in developing an algorithm that uses over 1,000 data points to decide who sees what content when. So if you use Facebook for business, or you even use Facebook personally, you'll notice you no longer see content in chronological order. You see it from different people, and maybe you are always seeing something from your friend Katie, but never seeing something from your brother Marcus. It is because Facebook has recognized from your behavior with Katie's page, or a certain business's page, that they are evaluating that content as more important to you, using a series of rankings and factors. It's important to know that in how Facebook works and how we can break through the algorithm, especially if we are using it for business purposes. If you just are using organic Facebook, meaning you're not doing Facebook ads or boosted posts, you're just posting to your Facebook business page, you can really only count on anything that you post to your Facebook business page being seen by 1 to 5% of your followers. That's not a lot. There are ways that you can instruct the algorithm that your content has more value. And that's important to know if you're going to use Facebook for business. Before we do that, I'll say ways to break through the algorithm include using videos instead of just text. Facebook loves videos. Facebook loves Facebook Lives. It really values them. Facebook does not love outbound links. So if you're constantly linking to a website or to a white paper or to a downloadable, Facebook doesn't like it. Why? Facebook is selfish, and Facebook is all about popularity. It wants you to stay in the Facebook platform as long as you can. Something interesting we learned. You might remember this game, 7 Degrees of Separation from Kevin Bacon, where like every movie star in history can be somehow linked to Kevin Bacon in just 7 movie stars. Facebook is better than that in terms of every single person on Facebook internationally is only separated by 3.5 degrees of separation. That is amazing. That means when you are putting content on your Facebook, you are only 3.5 degrees of separation from everyone else on this call, from everyone else who uses Facebook. So the power of Facebook for messaging can be quite powerful. It also means that I am only potentially 3.5 degrees separated from Chris Hemsworth. Good news for everyone really today. So let's talk about LinkedIn. And like I said, I'm just giving you little snapshots and we can ask some questions, but I want to make sure that we get through what I call the big 4 that you're going to use most likely for your business. LinkedIn, if any business leader, is on one platform, it's usually LinkedIn. LinkedIn used to be just seen as a job seeking site. Gone are those days. It's now for networking. It's for connection, community, building your brand as a leader, amplifying the voice of your organization. 772 million users, 79% of them are 35 and older, which makes sense given what people are using it for. LinkedIn makes up half of all social media traffic that goes to B2B websites and blogs. If you have a B2B business, chances are LinkedIn is probably one of your strongest or the strongest channel that you should use as part of a good social media strategy. Now, this is where things get a little dicey. Content shared by people, by individuals, is what counts. It's important if you have a business or organization to have a business LinkedIn page. It's what unifies everybody together. It's what links up all of your employees, and it is great for SEO or search engine optimization, how someone finds you when they type in Google. The LinkedIn page is ranked fairly high. However, content placed and posted by your business page is not going to do great necessarily. And why? Because content shared by people is what counts. So when we've done studies and put the same content side by side, either shared from your or an organization's business page or shared by the CEO, the chief marketing officer, the head of sales, the VP of something, the content shared by employees, it has 10 times the reach of the content shared by the business page. It has 8 times more engagement. That means someone interacting with it, a like, a share, a comment, and it gets reshared 25 times more frequently. So if you are only using LinkedIn right now as a strategy from your organization's business page, I'm going to urge you to rethink that and urge you how you can get your employees, your C-suite, yourself, if you're the CEO today on this call, involved in your organization's LinkedIn efforts. And here's why. We have seen a rise of the social media savvy CEO. Now, the first data point I have is just US specific, and I apologize, but 65% of US employees say it's important for CEOs to communicate about their companies. 60% of all job seekers say that they check executive social media accounts, this might be LinkedIn, Twitter, before they accept a job offer. 70%, so that's acquiring your talent, right? Which is an important part of your social media strategy. People often forget that it's not about sales constantly. Sometimes it's about culture and getting the right talent. On the other side of things, about sales and consumers, 70% of consumers feel more connected with brands with a CEO who's active on social media. So it's really interesting. Doug McMillon is the CEO of Walmart. He does an amazing job. The CEO of Union Square Hospitality in New York and Shake Shack does an amazing job. We have seen CEOs in the last year specifically not do amazing jobs. And what I mean by that is, if you are going to be a social media savvy CEO, or let's just say business leader, you have to be prepared to stand behind the things that you are posting on your LinkedIn and on your Twitter, which is usually the 2 channels seen by the most people. You'll have to be prepared for that. We have seen constantly people making really bold and often bad choices. The CEO of CrossFit, for example, got fired after he tweeted something not appropriate. I think it was about Black Lives Matter or George Floyd last summer. Not smart. So if you are going to use your social media, which you should, you have to be thoughtful about how you're going to do it and give yourself sort of a list of do's and don'ts. And I'm happy to talk about that at the end of the call. Now, how are you going to leverage your LinkedIn presence. You really need to use LinkedIn. Again, it's not because you're seeking a job or you're just advertising. It's driving your message. It's sharing a spotlight and shining a spotlight on your organization. It's building a network. Today, previous to this call, I connected with you, several of you, on your LinkedIn profiles, just through sending you a message. You'll notice I will never connect with you by just sending an invitation. That's crazy. You have to send a note so that someone knows why you want to connect with them. You also should, as a business leader, make connecting with others part of your larger social media and LinkedIn specifically strategy. People often want to know, well, how many followers do I need, or how many connections rather do I need? For business leaders, we say the data says 500 is a good number to have. And for CEOs and C-suite and business entrepreneurs, we like to see 1,000. And it's because the more connections you have, think about that Kevin Bacon thing on Facebook, the more connections you have, the more connections your network has, and you're expanding your reach. You also want to become the thought leader in your industry. If you offer a service personally or your organization, a service, a product, especially if this is something with health and wellness or someone else's business, people want to know that you know what you're talking about. I never would have been recommended to come talk to you today if I wasn't seen as a thought leader. And that can look a lot of ways. I publish articles on LinkedIn talking about social media strategy and giving tips and advice. I reshare all of my Forbes articles. I share timely, relevant material on LinkedIn, and I post frequently. You can do that for whatever your industry is. For a lot of business leaders, they start sweating right about now. Woo, that's a lot of work. You don't have to do all of that. You can share things from Forbes, Fast Company, Inc., industry magazines related to the area of expertise for your product or service. You can share all of that, and that's called curated content, meaning it's not original to you. And that's still, when you comment on it, that's still showing your thought leadership in that area. You can also share it without commenting. Sometimes I just share things because I think my network will find them interesting. Before this, you have to really think, who is your target demographic? What do they want? And how can you add value to their lives? And I pause and say, that's a really important piece of social media. You notice I didn't say, how can you advertise and how can you sell? Nope. How can you add value to their lives? How can you educate, inspire? That is what people, even on LinkedIn, who are seeking business solutions, they still want to be educated, inspired. They want aspirational material. So you should not feel that your social media strategy is sell, sell, sell. That will not work in 2021. People will simply not engage with it. And actually, the platforms themselves will deprioritize that content through the algorithms because it's kind of seen as spammy. And LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, they just sort of won't allow for it, for you to keep doing it over and over and over again. So think of what is your story and what value do you offer, you as the entrepreneur or business leader, or you as the organization. So let's talk about what to have on your LinkedIn in order for LinkedIn to view it as a fully fleshed out performance tool. You absolutely have to have a profile picture. If you don't have a profile picture, get a professional headshot. The data point is something like people are 10 times more willing to connect or 16 times more willing to share when you have a picture. Your banner image is also wasted space. That's that little horizontal picture behind your headshot. Have someone create an individual piece for you or use an asset from your company. It's free real estate, so we want to use it all. Use a descriptive headline. It shouldn't just say president of. You can talk about years of experience. You can talk about what kind of president you are. You can talk about what you do. Again, people love a descriptive headline. You want to have a summary. I cannot tell you the number of LinkedIn profiles I've actually seen that don't have a summary at all. wasted opportunity. Optimize that for keywords for what people are looking for in your industry and service. LinkedIn sort of recommendation is you can now have media. It might be listed under now featured in your LinkedIn profile. You can link to downloadables, white papers, websites, upload clips. Definitely try to get something at the bare minimum. You should have 3. You can always link to your company website. That's a no-brainer. Of course, we want to have work history, accolades, if you have recommendations or reviews from people. And then again, I spoke earlier about articles. LinkedIn has a publishing platform for free that you can publish articles. As a business leader and as any individual using LinkedIn strategically, there is no reason that you shouldn't publish at least 3 articles as part of your social media strategy. There are a zillion ideas that I could give you without even knowing your industry about what you could write about. Things that are trending, things that are influencing your industry, decisions that are being made politically or in government that perhaps could impact your industry, tax laws, current events. At the very basic, how you got started, why you do what you do, shine a spotlight on something in your organization. There's tons to say in those articles. I would think 500 to 800 words is where you want to be. And you always want to include an image with that. And don't forget to post. That's part of using social media, is actually posting. Let's talk about Twitter. Twitter gets a bad rap because it is a lot of noise. There are 353 million active users, hundreds of millions of tweets every day. It is a noisy space with a lot that's going on. And if you want to use Twitter to compete or to actually have business results, as an organization, you're going to have to tweet early and tweet often. I think the average brand or business tweets 3 to 30 times a day. It's a lot. It's a commitment. A lot of Twitter users we consider to be that millennial and affluent millennials. 80% are those who make over 100K a year using Twitter. Twitter, despite what you may have seen on Twitter, is actually a very educated platform, meaning more of its users are actually college educated and have advanced degrees than not. And compared to the other platforms, just something interesting to consider if you're thinking about using Twitter. If you are going to use Twitter personally or as part of a strategic initiative to your business, tweets with hashtags get 100% more engagement. A hashtag, for a reminder, is when you use the # followed by a group of words with no spaces. Hashtags can be used, ironically, hashtag Wine Wednesday, hashtag Feeling Good Friday, right? That's fun. But hashtags can actually have, and should have, if you're using them, real business implications. And here's why. When you use a hashtag with a piece of your content, whatever social media channel you're on files that piece of content away with every other piece of content on that social media channel that uses that same hashtag. Therefore, when people start using the search bar in Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, which, by the way, more and more people are starting to use the internal search bars of social media channels as opposed to something like Google. So when they type in printer ink or laser printing, Kansas City, they want to know what's out there with that hashtag because they're using it as a search function. So you can use hashtags strategically on Twitter and on every platform. A heads up, if you're going to use hashtags on Twitter, which you should, maximum of 3 hashtags on Twitter. More than 3 hashtags, and we start to see a decline in the efficiency. LinkedIn is 3 to 5, Facebook is 3. So just something to kind of get you going. Tweets with videos get way more engagement, and tweets with photos get way more engagement. Twitter is your one social media channel that doesn't mind an outbound link, a link to your website, a link to YouTube. Do not link your Twitter to your Facebook. Don't make people social media channel hop. They don't want to do that. It's a bad practice. And I see a lot of organizations doing it. And I understand why. Might feel like you're saving people time, but don't do that. Drive them to your website instead. Now, when we talk about Instagram, excuse me, Instagram is really different from these other platforms in as much as all of these other channels, you can just have text and that's it. Instagram, you have to have a picture or a video. It will not allow you to just have text. It's a very visual platform. You've got 1 billion active users on Instagram. 90% of users are under 30. It's a very young platform. However, what do you think the largest growing demographic is on Instagram? Is it that under 30? Is it 30 to 40? No, it is not. It is 55 plus is the largest demographic growing on Instagram. We find that this demographic is more using the channels passively on Instagram. They're not posting a lot, but they're looking a lot. My theory is that's a demographic where their kids are starting to get on Instagram and they need to follow them. Maybe they have grandkids now. They want to see pictures of them. And where are their kids who are under 30 on? They're on Instagram. However, this makes a difference for you, for your business, because if your demographic is on one of these ages, you have to know where to reach your demographic. 500 million people are using stories every day. We'll talk about stories and what those are in a minute. A lot of people are researching products on Instagram. 83% of users use Instagram to discover products and services. And something like 50%, it's either 45 or 50%, are actually purchasing those products that they've discovered from the platform. An average user is spending about 53 minutes. 90% of accounts follow at least one business. And you're having a large majority of people using Instagram to make buying decisions. So a lot of researching is being done on Instagram, and it's not just t-shirts, fashion, makeup. Those are kind of easy things that we pair with Instagram, but we're seeing more and more B2B services and products are being vetted on Instagram. People are going to Instagram as the demographic gets larger and bigger, and it's more sort of accepted in a business sphere. So something to think about for your organization. Why do brands and businesses like Instagram? Well, because it delivers 58 times more engagement per follower than Facebook and 120 times more engagement per follower than Twitter. This means if your demographic is on Instagram and you've chosen that as a platform, you may see more success with people actually interacting with your content, liking, sharing, commenting, sending you a DM or a direct message than you might see on some of these other platforms. And why? The way Instagram was started, the way that the channel works, it was designed to have a lot of kind of chatter back and forth, and the functionality is just a little different for sure. So I mentioned Instagram stories. Instagram stories are little bits of text, pictures, or videos that disappear for hours. It was starting to sort of take over everything. Instagram stories do not need to be as branded as your other content. They can feel very casual. They create a really interesting organic user experience, and they build a voice for your brand. They actually live, if you have Instagram, and you might have seen Facebook stories, or guess what? Now LinkedIn has stories. Now Twitter has their own version of stories, and where they live is above the feed. This is my feed, and they live above it. And the great thing is they roll one into another, just like a commercial. So you very well, your business, Sage Restoration, let's say, your followers could see a story from me, Christina Hager, that goes right into a story from Oprah, that goes right into a story from Cristiano Ronaldo, that goes right into a story from you, Sage Restoration. And it creates a very interesting dynamic and emotional connection of your followers to feel connected to you. What's more, and just as important, I could say, is when I say they live above the feed, I mean that literally and figuratively. They live above that algorithm. Remember, I was talking about the Facebook algorithm that decides who sees what content based on popularity, what kind of content it is, how many other people have been responding. Stories aren't beholden to any of that on the Facebook side or the Instagram side. They live above it, and it's just a first come, first serve. Your story goes up at the time it goes up, and it stays in that order until it's gone. So if you're a newer business, or you're a business that doesn't have sort of the clout or the following yet, using stories is a great way for your followers to see your content and it not get lost in a really crowded feed. When we talk about stories and we talk about Instagram Reels or TikTok, I get into what is really a trend, which is short form video. Users spend 1 hour a week watching social media videos. Okay, 62% are getting a greater interest in brands or products after they see them in stories. And 93% of marketers are saying we've landed clients and customers because of these videos. So a huge trend for this year. It was really already on the forefront, but then once TikTok showed up in such a magnificent magnified way in March of 2020, and we gained so many users, short form video became everything. It may not be appropriate for you as an organization to be on TikTok. That's just not your audience. You don't have time for it. That's okay. You can still take advantage of this trend of short form video by using Instagram stories, by using Facebook stories, by using short clips that share about your organization or product across social media, because that short form video is a trend that is not going anywhere. So how can you use it for your business to build a great authentic voice, to promote an offer in real time, to pull your audience, to create organic experiences? And if you're not really sure how to get started with short form video, you could try it on any platform that you are on, whether it's Instagram or even LinkedIn now has stories. You can take a blog or a piece of information you already have, and you can create a little short 15-second. When I say short form, I'm really talking about 15 to 30 second. You can create one of those. And if you really want to take advantage of the TikTok trend, but you can't commit to a channel, you can advertise on TikTok if your demographic is there, without actually having a channel of your own and committing to that. So that's just another thing to think about what to do. A second trend that I think really impacts the people on this call is employee advocacy. I'm counting you, business leaders, C-suite, presidents, founders, entrepreneurs. You are also your best yet most ignored digital asset. Why? Because you're a brand ambassador. Remember when I was talking about in LinkedIn, all of those stats that I gave? People want content from people. And so when you share what has already been published by your brand or business's page, we really see that people connect with it. It builds a lot of trust. It helps distribute your content better. It's a great recruitment tool. So don't forget to encourage your employees to do that, and to remember to do it yourself. As a business owner or a business leader, I get it. You're busy. So here's my tip. If you're using LinkedIn in this way, there is a button for your marketing team, your fractional marketing team, like the work that I do for clients, or whomever is running that when they post something to LinkedIn, to your business page, there is a button that says notify all employees. So everyone who is on LinkedIn, who is connected to your organization, will get a little notification that says, Sage Restoration has a new update. Then encourage your employees to go ahead and share that straight out of the gate. It gets a halo effect of, instead of your content being seen by your 50 followers or your 100 followers, Now they're seen by your VP of sales, 1,000 followers, and your VP of marketing's 500 followers. And we see a halo effect of all of a sudden, anything you shared, that it's being messaged so much further than your business could ever on your own. The last kind of trend of the year, I'll tell you, is content marketing, and you have to break through the noise. Social media and digital efforts are noisy. There's a lot of content out there. There's a lot of stuff on Instagram and YouTube and the internet in general, right? So how do you compete for that? When you have content marketing, it's 62% cheaper than outbound marketing, but it generates 3 times the leads. When you think about using a blog, small businesses with blogs see like 120% more leads than those without it. And conversion rates are 6 times higher when you use content marketing. Content marketing can look a lot of ways. It can look traditionally like we think of it, like blogs on your website. It can look like social media posts. It can look like LinkedIn articles. It looks a lot of ways in 20 and 21. But it's an important part of your digital strategy. So when you think about your content marketing efforts, are you informing? Are you educating? Are you inspiring? Or are you just advertising? Our product is this, our product is this, our product's on sale, our product is this. Marketers, it's hard for us because we get caught up in the needing to make the sales. And so sometimes that's all we're sharing. Do you have a distribution plan for your content? My biggest pet peeve, and what I'm often hired to do, the pet peeve being someone writes a blog, they put it on a website, and it goes there to die. There's no strategy for how people are going to go see that blog on a B2B or B2C website. Or they put a social media post up about the blog, but that's it. How does that one piece of content, that blog, get redistributed for 30 days? 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, or maybe even the following year. And you really have to think about a plan for your content. For example, that one blog can go up on your website. 30 days later, the same content from that blog can be posted as a LinkedIn article from someone appropriate in your organization. Maybe it's you, a business leader. Then that URL from the LinkedIn article can be distributed in LinkedIn groups that you're a part of and on your LinkedIn feed. Then 30 days later, maybe you're taking quotes from that blog and making them branded quotes, maybe taking a quote or two that stick or a stat and putting them on a picture. Now you have a graphic that's not just going on LinkedIn, it's going everywhere that you want to put that. Then 30 days later, you're taking that same blog, you're picking up your phone or you're turning on your Zoom, and you as the business leader are saying essentially the same thing that was in that blog, but you're saying it. And then guess what? You put that blog on YouTube, that vlog on YouTube, and now you're sending that URL over. So look, we're like 5 or 6 months into that same 500 words. So don't let sort of the rules of what you think you're doing with blogs and content stop you. You need to think about distributing your content to be long lasting, forever and ever, amen. And then how often is your content being refreshed? You may have had an awesome marketing team or your marketing team create something for you, and then you've been using the same 20 pictures over and over and over again, the same 3 blogs over and over and over again. Is it time for a facelift? It doesn't mean you have to throw out all of that, but maybe we're taking a blog and we're switching a title, or we're switching a picture, or we're updating a picture into a video, or maybe we're taking a bunch of static pictures and we're using something really easy like iMovie on your phone, and we're making a little animated video. So there's a lot of ways to refresh your content without throwing a lot of money in those efforts, because we want to see ROI from the content you already have. All right, so when you use social media as a business leader, you're going to use it to support your, is to build your digital footprint. Don't know where they are. That's worth research or a conversation with a strategist. to help you find how your target demographic works digitally, right? Then you need to increase your brand awareness and identity and build social proof that you are what you say you are. And you can support events, PR opportunities, publishing opportunities, whatever that looks like. Building thought leadership for you as the leader, you need to establish your brand as a business leader. Build your profile to support opportunities. Build your connections and let people know that as the president, as the vice president, as the entrepreneur, you know what is going on in your industry. You not only have knowledge, but you are on the forefront. That's what it is essential, I think. And you can use social media as a way to do that. When you promote your business on social media, you should follow, as a leader, you should follow your business on every channel, invite your friends and associates to do that, and then give your employees the information and the power on how to share, reshare posts, and how to engage with your business. And always, tag your business when it's appropriate and use a hashtag. That is a kind of a bare minimum to help you. So that is your fast and furious introduction to social media for a business leader. So I'm sure there will be lots of questions and I'm happy to answer any of them. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Ta-da! And then we can just chat about what questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Christina. That is a lot to digest in a short amount of time. Please feel free to unmute yourself, turn your camera on, and ask Christina a question directly. If you'd prefer to write your question in the chat, you may do that, and I will ask it for you. But now the floor is open. Yes, go ahead. Sorry, was somebody raising their hand or asking something? Oh, Christina, you've been asked to share your information again. Okay, you did that. Okay, great.
Yeah, so I put it in the chat. You can find me at Christina at Ovations Digital. You can find both myself and my business on all the social media channels that there are. So I'll put that information in there as well.
Oh, that's great. Do you have any advice for an approach that would be different for somebody who's really just starting their business as a startup, running their own business, versus somebody who's maybe already in a pretty established company but is trying to launch a social media presence or launch a new product, or trying to get something else out there, even if the company is already pretty visible?
So I would say, and I work with companies from startups and founders to Fortune 500. And my first thing is always the same. You need to start with a strategy. Everyone says, I need to be on social media because my uncle told me to, my head of marketing told me to, my business partner says we need to. I mean, sure. I've given you the numbers and the data of why you really need to be on social media. So start with your strategy. Who's your target demographic? What do they want from you? What problem are you solving? Sort of all this like brand 101. And then where are they? Start with one channel, then build to two. Do not try to tackle 4 or 5 at once. Crazy town. Get a strategy established. And if you need to hire someone, do not spend your money on someone posting for you. That is a great thing to service out. But know that the person that's creating strategy for you is going to be more expensive and should be more expensive than the person who's posting for you. Do not let your niece or nephew who knows social media create your strategy, unless they are also involved in the business world and they understand the ever-changing algorithms of social media. If they're in marketing, great, lucky you, familial ties. Pay to have the social media strategy established. Then let that lovely niece or nephew that's really good on social, then pay them a much less expensive amount to post on your behalf. That's a great thing to do. If you are in like a startup situation, really identify what those most burning needs are and decide strategically how social media is going to really impact that. There's a large variety of things that you can do in a launch phase versus an already existing phase. If you are a large corporation or a large company, but maybe you're beginning these efforts, you absolutely have to get buy-in from your C-suite or your marketing team, kind of depending on who's leading those efforts. I'm working with a business now, and the CFO was the one who wanted to drive these efforts. Never in my life has a CFO cared about what I've done. It's wonderful though, because he's the one that vets all the ROI and he's in on this. So get buy-in from the people that really need to give you the resources. So get buy-in if you're in a large organization, make it important. If your C-suite doesn't care and you're the marketing team, you need to educate them so they do care. Show them the competitors and what they're doing on LinkedIn and how they're getting leads. Show them how you show sales. Sales and marketing love to go like this. If you're trying to get buy-in from sales or cooperation, if they want leads, show them what you can do for them. Show them how you can warm leads. So it just depends on a larger organization, what side you're coming in on. I saw there's some questions about best time to post on LinkedIn. Traditionally, the best time to post on LinkedIn is kind of over the lunch hour and in the morning, not so much in the afternoon, definitely not at night, and not during the weekends. However, there are some peak times and it depends on your industry. The great thing is Google has a lot of this information from various like Hootsuite articles or Social Media World Today. So you could even say best time for business leaders to post on LinkedIn. And I think it'll tell you like Wednesday at 11 a.m., Thursday at 9 a.m. Best time for nonprofits to post on LinkedIn. So a quick 5 minutes and you'll get what's specific to your industry. But as an overall rule, lunchtime is really good. And I had a question, what social media platforms would I recommend for B2B businesses? It depends on your business goals. Traditionally, I would say LinkedIn is the best channel for any B2B business. It depends on industry specific. If your business goal is to sell to other business professionals, let's find out where those professionals are and what they want. Now, for instance, I'm working with a business that's a B2B product. Their business goal is they really are having they're manufacturing. They're really having a hard time with talent. It's hard to find skilled labor right now, right? And keep and retain skilled labor. Their skilled labor is not on LinkedIn. So it would be foolish for me to say, just use LinkedIn because that's not where there are. Their skilled labor are all millennials and Gen Z. So I'm suggesting to promote culture and potential employee information, they have to get on Instagram. They have to demonstrate that they're family owned. They have to demonstrate what that means to their potential employees because their potential employees don't really care what they're posting on LinkedIn. So you really have to think about what your business goals are. But traditionally, I would say LinkedIn is the most successful for B2B.
Christina, I have a
I think there was also a question on why is it important for a
Sorry, Fabrice, you had a question. You had a question also. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a quick question for Christina. Among the 5 platforms that you described pretty well, you didn't list YouTube. Where do you put YouTube in all this mix? And I have a second question that is with Andrea, and thank you, Andrea, for opening this webinar to all of us. That's very useful, but there's an international question there, is that how do you handle the multilingual aspect of international business into this social media?
Absolutely. So let me address YouTube because that actually ironically sort of answers your second question. YouTube should really make its way into the top 4 and top 5. And once I get all the time in the world, I get to talk about YouTube. YouTube is owned by Google, which means Google really prioritizes YouTube videos. YouTube is quickly becoming a search engine of its own. However, Google cannot read a video. It cannot read pictures. So it's up to you to put text with that YouTube video to give them action to go back to your website, to give them a number, to put keywords. We are seeing YouTube, especially in B2B, which someone just had a question about, as being a great tool. Again, it depends on your audience. For instance, I work with a SaaS product for dentists. Dentists love YouTube. Why? I don't know. They hate LinkedIn. It's everything that's that's just not where they are. So knowing your demographic and your end user and your buyer is essential to decide if you want to use something like YouTube. But YouTube is great for SEO. And because we see such a span of demographics using YouTube, I think it can be a great and important part of your process. The second question, the international question. 80% of Instagram users are not in the United States. Instagram, they are international audience, not in the United States. It's a very global platform.
Two different types of Black.
So it really gives you a good opportunity to reach a target demographic that is not English speaking, right? Or that is from a different country. If you use video or pictures, you have an opportunity because you can layer captions in one language on the video. And then in your opportunity to put the text, you can also put texts in both languages. If you're going to use something like LinkedIn, I would suggest if you are a multilingual company or you really have deep arms in France and the United States, schedule your English speaking posts for lunchtime here in Chicago or in the US, and then have the same posts in French or whatever language for the hours that they are eating lunch in France or whatever country you're talking about, and duplicate that content. Don't share it back to back because then your feed will start to look nuts. But you can, in your calendar, matrix it out so that all of the information is getting shared. Obviously, there's certain time where you just have to share something in two languages because it's important, it's trending, whatever. But a lot of that you can share two different ways. And the more visual the platform, the more opportunity you have. If you're going to use paid advertising on any of these platforms, you can also target specific languages spoken and obviously specific zip codes, states, countries, cities, etc. So that could also be a way that you have campaigns that run in Paris, let's say, campaigns that run in London, and campaigns that run in Dallas, Texas. And those assets that go, pictures, videos, copy, that go with those paid campaigns will look very different. So that's a way behind the scenes you can use social media.
Yeah, we use Sprout Social to dispatch all the blogs from the blog and then disseminate across LinkedIn and Facebook and corporate accounts.
It's a great tool. Sprout Social is a very good, robust tool. If you're looking for a robust tool, highly suggest. If you're looking for a simpler, less expensive tool, like if you're a startup, I suggest Hootsuite or Buffer. They're excellent tools that have sort of lower level areas you can get into. Meet Edgar is another one. Social Pilot. These are all things that serve as social listening tools, but schedulers, so that you're not having to go in LinkedIn or Facebook every single day and do these things manually. I highly suggest getting a scheduling tool. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. We have time for one more question. If
I would have a follow-up question, Andrea and Christina, to the one we just addressed. Which is, you mentioned, Christina, something interesting regarding the scheduling of international content. We tend to post in two languages in the same post, just I guess not to duplicate the same content, even if it's in different language. But so I hear that you would recommend to break it to two different pieces of content at different times of the day. is it accurate instead of having a post with you know, the French and then the English, or vice versa?
I would
in
test.
one thing?
Yes, I would test that and see if you get a higher engagement or whatever your goals are, right? Engagement, shares, comments, driving traffic to the website. And if you get higher engagement, then you'll know that, or whatever you're ranking, your key performance indicators, then you'll know that that's the way to do it. You might be doing it correctly for your organization and audience. I would suggest testing the other way and seeing if that gives you higher levels of success.
Got it.
Test it for a couple of weeks, see what happens.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thanks.
And the last, I missed a question on why is it important for a PR firm to use Twitter specifically? And I'll just say, Twitter has some of the least amount of barriers, meaning on Twitter, you don't have to connect with someone and it be a mutual connection like Facebook or LinkedIn. So you can connect with, or on Twitter using the @ you can @ various media reporters. You can tweet the president of the United States. I know because I've done it. So it really knocks down the doors. And as a PR firm, there are a lot of opportunities for you to connect and pitch to reporters and authors and writers and news outlets that are happening really fast. And Twitter is a fast space. And so I think it'd be really essential for you to keep up with things on Twitter and also have those lightning fast reactions on Twitter.
Christina, thank you very much. I think we've come to the end of our time. I want to be mindful of everybody's schedules. I will send all participants and even the people registered but who weren't able to make it a follow-up email with Christina's information and more information on the FACC. So you can absolutely follow up with her after this and come to me with any questions you have about today's presentation or about the FACC. Thank you all again very much for being here and for all your good questions. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Christina, thank you again. It was great to see you.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day,
Bye.
everyone.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea, again.
Bye. See you soon.